Hi everyone, can you hear me? Hello? Brilliant, thank you so much. I just needed to know I can actually voice myself over this music. Hi everyone! Hi, thank you all for joining in. Everyone's signing off, thank you. Wow, so many things are coming through. My day's been good. I've been trying to put together something for today, and I will admit that only 2/3 of everything is ready to go. I think I just haven't edited one character to put together for read, but you know, I guess that's the fun of it. You're just gonna hear me make a fool of myself in that one. I've been very good. Oh, these are all your first live streams. Whoever's first live stream it is for my channel. Hello. It's nice to see you. Oh, popcorn. I'm not a senpai. Don't flatter me. Right now it is 12 past 12 actually. So I did organize the stream to be at 12 o'clock my time. So I'm not sure where everyone else is. I know there's probably a few people who are up and out around between 2 to 4 in the morning. So I apologize for having that kind of schedule. Wow, getting a lot of times. Okay. Yeah, time zones are not everyone's best friend. Okay, so we should get straight into it actually. Now, my community post earlier was about the characters with the 3 topmost votes, I believe. That's going to be part of this program. Now, I wasn't very clear about how I wanted to work that out, but based on how everything is, we're going to have Bakugo, we're going to have Amajiki, and we're going to have Shinso, and it is all in that order. Yes. I guess Shinso would be last. He's the sleepy boy. Well, in a way, it kind of works out in that order. Bakugo does take a bit of strain out of my voice when I try to actually voice him. And then you get a little, like, on the much more calmer toner voices, which is, of course, Amajiki Tamaki and Shinso Hitoshi. Yes, yes. Like I saw in the other ones, there was Kirishima, there was Genki, there was Todoroki as well. And as much as I'd love to do maybe all 6 of them together, I don't think I'll be able to fit all 6 in one story time. It'll only be just 3 characters. Now, I have already arranged 3 stories per character. Tell me if that's a little too much. Thank you. I will take care of my voice, and thank you for loving my unusually natural accent. Not too much. I've been trying to avoid very long ones because we don't want to spend too much time with one of the boys. Okay, thank you all. Now, I'm going to actually probably jump right into it. We are going to start with Bakugo. Now, I have tried to order these stories so they kind of flow as I read. Yes, I know, I'm procrastinating. I sound like a man who hasn't hit puberty. Well, I do sound like prepubescent boys, don't worry. Okay. I believe we're going to start as soon as I get everything set up here. And we're going to start with Bakugo. I hope everyone's ready. Also, this was a thought while I was getting ready, that if there was enough time that maybe we could have a quick chat at the end of all of story time. Who knows? Depends how you guys feel or how late it's going to be for some of you. Okay. Let's get right to it.
If you paid half as much attention to your books as you do me, you wouldn't need tutoring, you know.
Bakugo pointed out, without looking up from his book. Acknowledging his statement, you buried your nose in your textbook, mainly to hide your embarrassment more so than actually getting back to studying. It was hard. You thought studying with him would help you focus, since when you tried to focus while cooped up in your dorm, you just ended up sending him an array of flirty text messages and wondering what he was up to. You managed to read a few paragraphs in silence before you found your mind wandering again. Bakugo reminded you to read every time you did, and you'd resort to fidgeting, bouncing your knee, shifting and chewing on a pen cap, or laying with your back on the seat of the sofa with your feet dangling over the back of the couch. You finally ended up sitting behind Bakugo back to back, as he occupied the edge of a cushion. Leaning against him for both support and comfort, you actually managed to get some work done this way. After Bakugo complained about your inability to sit still, his fuse was about burnt out. But now that you finally shut up and he was able to get his work done, he didn't want to do anything to disturb the peace. Which left him with the decision of,
am I going to move or let her actually get things done?
The latter ended up winning, and Bakugo got ahead in his week's work, until he grew bored of overachieving and carefully reached for his phone, fingertips grazing it a few times before pushing it further away from himself. With a huff, he planted a cheek on his palm and stared off into the distance until time seemed to melt into a non-entity.
Ugh. Hey man, what are you doing?
Kirishima entered the common area in his pajamas, speaking softly with sleep in his voice. Come to think of it, it was pretty late.
Helping them actually get some work done for once.
Bakugo explained softly, nodding his head towards you, still being supported by his back. Kirishima stared for a moment as he looked between the two of you before flashing a toothy grin and shaking his head.
Alright, have fun you two.
He snickered, before walking off. Enough time passed that Bakugo was wondering if you'd ever spent this much time reading in your life, chalking it up to a win for his tutoring skills. However, his internal monologue was disrupted by the screen of his phone.
Oh, fuck.
Bakugo thought, as it rattled across the edge of the top coffee table. Using his foot to hook a table leg without disturbing you, he pulled it towards him and was able to slide his phone close enough to open the message. It was from Kirishima.
You know she's asleep, right?
Attached to the text was a photo taken from across the common room. There, Bakugo saw his back to the photo, but you were sound asleep, with your head slumped on the back of his shoulder, passed out with your book in hand.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me.
Bakugo groaned as he stared at the picture filling up his screen. He felt you stir behind him. Your head shifted to settle into the middle ridge of his back. Bakugo sighed, unable to contain his anger and his embarrassment.
At least you're cute,
he mumbled as he dragged his palm across his face. You've been talking to this boy for a lot longer than you wished to do so. You had rejected his advances, but he just kept persisting. You were getting annoyed. You shrugged his hand off of your shoulder for the 5th time in the past 4 minutes and took another step away from him. He took another step forward, leaning closer to you. You frowned, looking away, trying to tune out his voice as you searched for a way to escape. There weren't many places you could go, seeing as you were told amongst your fellow classmates to stay in the area until it was time to leave. And you didn't want to cause a scene.
So, listen, how about you give me your phone number?
He asked, leaning further into your personal space. His face inches from yours. Your mind raced, trying to find an excuse to get out of the situation.
I can't,
you responded, your hand grasping the front of your shirt, a nervous habit you picked up as a young child. The boy leaned back, raising an eyebrow at your response.
Why is that?
He questioned in a skeptical tone. His eyes searched yours that looked elsewhere, searching the crowd for a friend or even just someone you knew that could help. Because your eyes feverishly scanned the plaza until you noticed the unusual spiky hair from the blonde teen a yard away, leaning against a trash can. You hadn't even noticed him until now.
Yeah, my boyfriend is right over there,
You pointed to Bakugo and pushed past the man who only seemed to follow you, not believing you. Katsuki! You called, waving your hand to grab his attention. You knew Bakugo from class and the two of you had talked on multiple occasions, but you never were close enough to ever call him by his first name. For him to hear you call him like that garnered his attention as he immediately turned towards you. He said nothing as you slipped your arm around his and looked at him with a bright smile.
I just need you to pretend to be my boyfriend?
You whispered through gritted teeth. He frowned, searching your eyes for an answer.
The hell? Why?
He asked, not caring to lower his voice. The same man appeared a few feet away from the both of you, analyzing you two while you moved closer into Bakugo, pressing into his side. Oh, so that's why. Bakugo pulled his arm from your grip for a second. And for a second you were afraid that he wasn't going to play along. But then his arms immediately wrapped around your shoulders as he pulled you against him, glaring at the man who had been bothering you.
Who the fuck are you?
He asked, his brows furrowed and his grip on your shoulders tightening.
Can't you see we're busy? Right, babe?
Bakugo asked, looking down at you with a tilt. Yes, you said firmly, looking back at the man who pestered you a while ago. Bakugo glared at him, waiting for the man to respond or leave, and watched as he did nothing. With a huff, Bakugo turned his back to the man and ignored him, sliding his arm from your shoulders to your waist and guiding you away. For good measure, he pressed a kiss to your temple while sending a threatening glare at the man.
He looks like a pervert. Just watching you.
He angrily mumbled under his breath. He could feel the eyes of the man following the two of you and continued to pull you further away from him as possible, guiding you through the crowd.
What a shitty school trip. The hell were they thinking taking us here? Idiots.
Thanks, Bakugo, you said, as you reached over and tugged on the front of his jacket. For pretending. Bakugo stopped as his eyes gazed back at you.
Well, it's good practice for when I actually become your boyfriend,
he said, watching your face grow stunned at the thought.
So, what do you say?
He asked, after a few minutes of silence. An awkward cough caused the two of you to pull away, and when you did so, seeing that Aizawa was standing next to the two of you, looking to the side as he spoke.
We are here as guests. Do not do any form of PDA. The bus is ready.
He turned away and began to walk away from the two of you while you followed behind. Bakugo took his time to glance behind him at the man who had been flirting with you, flipping him away before you left for the building. Okay guys, I just need a little bit of a break here. I think what I should have done was told you what the stories were called. Sorry about that. The first one that I've read was called Tutor Bakugou, and the one I just currently read was Ask For Katsuki. Anyway, popping in just to see how you guys are doing before I read the last of Bakugo's stories today. Yep, just checking in on all of you.
And to answer those couple of questions, I do find these on Tumblr. And to answer your second question, yes, you can make stories for me and just let me know and I can have a look into it. Okay, this will be the last of Bakugo's stories for today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I don't strain my voice on this one, but we'll see how we go. Oh, and to answer that next question, you can send me your own fanfics and I can have a look. And the only time I ever write my own fanfics is because I'm unable to find something for specific themes. So usually my video descriptions will describe that I have read them. Alright, we'll just head to the third story. Third and final one for Bakugo is called Second Chance at Childhood. Hope you enjoy.
Are you serious?
Latched onto his leg was a small child, draped in what used to be your costume. Large glossy eyes looked up at him, tears threatening to drop at any given moment as your chubbier cheeks shook with your quivering lip.
Don't do that! Stop it!
He demanded, trying to keep his irritation out of voice and failing.
Get off of me! Go! Get out of here! Didn't you hear me? You're going to get hurt!
And he was right. The both of you were training with opponents when one of them headed straight for you, ready to use their opportunity to strike and take you with them to their makeshift base. Bakugo's eyes narrowed, knowing the two of you were the only ones left on your team. Well, now he was the only one left. There was no way you were going to be of any help. The question now was, would he let his team lose on purpose to protect the now younger version of yourself? Or would he ignore you and go for the win? He knew what he wanted to do, but the tug in his heart started to overpower his own wants, and he started to curse himself out. He scooped you up, calmly walked towards the enemy, hanging his head in shame as alarms went off to alert everyone that the match had ended. Now he sat on his desk chair. You sat on the edge of his bed, with your feet swinging.
Are you happy? We lost.
That wasn't my fault! Your voice was high-pitched and childish, as if you were just a toddler. Stop blaming me! Your eyes started to well up with tears again, throwing yourself back onto his bed and kicking your feet in a temper tantrum.
You're a literal crybaby, knock it off,
he sighed, baring his teeth in agitation.
You're right. Wasn't your fault they had an age reversal quirk on their team.
Yeah!
It's your fault you got hit by it.
You're a meanie! You yelled, sobbing louder among your unwarranted screams.
Shut it!
He yelled, picking you up from beneath their arms, letting your body hang in front of him.
Stop screaming, that's annoying!
You stuck your tongue out at him, doing no good of looking intimidating when paired with your red round face. It also didn't help that your attire was a t-shirt of his as a makeshift gown to keep you covered. He just couldn't take you seriously. You were a literal child in a t-shirt that read, "Drop Dead." He wanted to laugh at you so badly, but bit his tongue.
At least you don't change as a child.
What you mean?
You're as annoying now as you normally are.
Big head! you shouted, now swinging your feet to try and kick him in the chest. He let out a laugh and pulled you close, cradling you both to keep you from kicking him and to comfort you. After another tantrum, he let you run around his room and tire yourself out, asking him all sorts of questions like, "What's that? What does this do? Why do you have such a big head? It's like a balloon." That one struck a chord and caused an irritated reaction. The two of you even ran around the dorms playing hide and seek with the other classmates who fell victim to the after effects of the quirk. Bakugo was exhausted and sat you down with markers and some paper, telling you to draw some pictures while he rested. He leaned against the wall in front of his bed, lightly knocking the back of his head against it and closing his eyes with a sigh. He went through extensive training every day. Why was this tiring him out? He popped an eye open when he felt soft hands press against his chest.
What are you doing?
He asked quietly.
Time.
He said sluggishly, crawling onto his chest and laying your head against his shoulder, nuzzling against his neck.
Yeah, you're right.
He sighed, laying a hand on your back to keep you from falling off.
A nap actually sounds pretty good.
Wait, I have a question.
Of course you do,
he growled, opening his eyes and turning his face to get a better look at yours.
What now?
Do you still love me?
You whispered, tears prickling the corner of your eyes.
I'm a baby and you think I'm annoying? Will you still love me when I turn back to normal?
With a sigh and a hum, he placed a careful kiss atop your head and used one of his free knuckles to wipe away your tears. He closed his eyes and patted your back, gently to ease your fears.
Yeah, you're an actual baby right now, but you're always going to be my baby. So don't sit there and cry over something like this. I told you earlier, you're always annoying. But I still love you and deal with your ass anyway, right?
Stop being mean to me!
You cried, pounding a small fist on his chest while he laughed off your actions.
But thank you for taking care of me anyway.
You don't have to thank me. As much as I hate losing, having you get hurt would be 10 times worse.
He nuzzled his cheek against the top of your head and let his body completely relax, hoping to drift off into sleep sooner rather than later.
But it's good to know our future kids are going to be little shits like you. Alright, Mayday told me to just pop in for a bit, so how's everyone? Yeah, hi. Whatever. What the hell? What's Kiri doing there? And Dunce Face, why is he there too? Whatever. Yeah, hi. Yeah, my day's been good. Don't get it. Why these things exist, but whatever, yeah. If it makes everyone happy. Well, I can't stay for long anyway. I've been told that one of the, I've been told like others are coming in, so I have to go. But anyway, hope you enjoyed everything. I'm not cute. Whatever. I don't understand why you people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go. Yeah. All right. Hope you have a good day, night, wherever you are.
Tamaki wasn't your average student. He was part of the Big Three, but that's not what made him, well, unique. He was an extremely shy individual, and he always managed to make himself look small. It wasn't until you watched him make his way to the front of the class that your heart began to race. You can do this, Tamaki. I know you can, you thought, with every fiber in your being. But as soon as he reached the podium, you saw his entire body begin to quiver. He couldn't even lift his head from the papers in his hand, his fingers scrunching at sides as if he were holding on for dear life. He opened his mouth, but no words escaped them. Your fellow classmates began to whisper and murmur in the classroom. Some even began to snicker at the sight.
My name is...
Tamaki stuttered. His shoulders began to hunch over as if it were a shield. From the corner of your eye, you spotted Mirio ready to jump up to Tamaki's aid. However, you decided to take the initiative as you made your way to the front of the class and gently held Tamaki's hands, gripping his papers. You slowly twirled him around to face the blackboard and yourself, his back now to the class. Tamaki? You softly spoke, your hands still holding onto his shaking. Look at me. With a small gulp, Tamaki lifted his eyes to meet yours, yet they were still downcast. You can do this, you whispered with a gentle smile. I know you can. You practiced with me last night, remember?
I know, but you're different from...
His eyes glanced back to the class as well as your homeroom teacher, who watched the both of you with slight annoyance. You turned to the teacher still with a smile, signaling to him just a little more time with Tamaki. You suddenly felt his hands quiver less.
Can you stay up here with me?
For a moment, you searched Tamaki's eyes, but they were downcast again. You tightened your grip on his hand reassuringly. Of course, Tamaki. Just give me a second. You motioned towards your homeroom teacher before leaving Tamaki to speak with him. However, as soon as you've released your hands, you felt Tamaki's large ones grab them. He had no intention of letting go, but he allowed you to drag him along. The next few moments involved yourself explaining to your homeroom teacher about the situation, discussing and almost compromising with him. With an exasperated sigh, your teacher motioned for the both of you to return to the podium. Allowing Tamaki to take the stand, you stood just beside him, holding one of his hands in yours behind your backs. A gentle squeeze calmed his nerves as Tamaki took a deep breath. The class grew still, watching him.
My name is Tamaki Amajiki. I am Sun Eater.
A swell of pride washed over you as he continued his speech, every so often squeezing his hand to comfort him. You looked towards Mirio, who smiled at the two of you, giving you a subtle thumbs up on your quick work. You nodded in response. You felt you could be what Tamaki needed in this moment. His rock, his shield, his support, and his heart.
I apologize, that first story was called Encouragement. Of course. This one is Scrabble.
You've been waiting for him to make a move for almost 2 months now. But Tamaki's timid and nervous nature was going to take a while for him to be comfortable showing or receiving affection. You were willing to wait and take it slow. You just never expected it to be this slow. You've spent a lot of time quietly pining for one another, but you couldn't wait to relax in his arms, caress his face and feel the burning against your lips when you feel his. Then again, it had been 2 months. Usually a person would think getting frustrated over someone not being ready was rude, but other than hinting at him every so often, the two of you have gotten so close only to either be interrupted by friends walking in at the wrong moment, or for goodness sake, one of you having to sneeze. Once Tamaki headbutted you and wouldn't even go near you for a week out of sheer embarrassment. You decided that tonight was going to be the night. You were going to take that next step to feel his lips against yours, the heat of the blush on his skin, the fireworks of your emotions, if you had to fight All Might himself to do so. You invited Tamaki over to your dorm room for a game night. The two of you loved the calm atmosphere. With Connect 4 and Go Fish out of the way, you found yourselves in the middle of the most intense game of Scrabble you've ever participated in.
That's 9 points for potion. Your turn,
Tamaki mentioned, writing his points down on a piece of scrap paper in front of him. Potions? Where did you pull that out from? You asked, twisting your lips to the side in a pout, your eyebrows furrowed.
You just... sorry, you just have to think outside of the box,
he teased, a gentle smile gracing his features.
There's a few open words on the board. Try to make something out of those.
You took a deep breath, scanning the board. He had a ton of bigger words on them, completely dominating the game with the most points. But what he didn't know was you had planned your moves strategically. Noticing your opportunity, you placed your letters on the board to spell out kiss and me side by side.
Oh, you can't finish 2 words at once.
His face grew blank for a moment, eyes registering that what had been spelled out. He could feel his skin light up immediately, burning even hotter under your gaze. You moved closer, sitting on your heels in front of him and grabbing a hold of one of his hands. After some sputtering and nervous shaking on his end, he placed a hand on your cheek and using the small burst of courage to pull you in close. His breath fanned across your face. You couldn't tell what felt warmer, his breath or his skin. You looked into his eyes, noticing the endearment painted in his gaze as his eyelids grew heavy. You closed your eyes and felt his lips timidly press against yours as a warmth instantly spread throughout their chest. To your surprise, he tilted his head slightly, fitting your lips together and deepening the kiss. There were no fireworks like you expected, no mind-blowing static throughout your bodies, only the reassuring warmth of what felt like home.
Alright, checking in on everyone. How are y'all doing? I'm glad you're all liking it so far, or at least I'm hoping. But we do have one more for Tamaki. I don't know, I feel like I enjoyed this one, but we'll see how you guys feel like up for it. This last one of Tamaki is called Tired. So here we go.
You should have been sleeping. It was late, after all, and you had an early shift the next morning. Well, this morning, if you were being technical. It wasn't like you hadn't tried to doze off. You definitely tried. Still, you could only toss and turn for so long, and after a few hours you mentally called out, "Screw it!" and resigned yourself to scrolling through your phone. Insomnia was really nothing new for you, but you noticed that it always seemed to be at its worst on nights when Tamaki worked. The reason seemed obvious enough. His job was dangerous and you worried. No matter how you tried to ignore that nagging voice at the back of your head, the one that told you he wouldn't be coming home, it was an ever-present force. When you thought about it rationally, you were overreacting. He was strong and more than capable of watching himself. But while thinking rationally was great in theory, it was much harder to actually put into practice. If you'd been doing anything other than just lounging around in bed, you might have missed the faint click of the front door lock. You shot upright, peering over at the clock. 3:33 a.m. So it could be Tamaki getting back from work, or it could be a demon here to haunt you. The clumsy thud you heard, followed by a familiar exasperated groan, told you otherwise. You reached over to turn on your lamp and let out a shaky breath, trying to ease your heart back into a steady rhythm. By the time the bedroom door creaked open, you felt calmer. For a moment, Tamaki didn't notice you, even with the light on. It might be a consequence of exhaustion, but it also might be because his eyes were glued to the carpet. It wasn't long. It wasn't until he fell into bed, and on you, that they widened.
Oh,
He stuttered softly, clutching a hand over his mouth.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you.
No, you're fine. You picked up your phone and placed it onto the bedside table. I couldn't sleep anyway.
Good.
He nodded slowly. His response seemed like it was an afterthought, slurred out at the end of a squeaky yawn. It must have been a rough day at the agency. Your suspicions were confirmed when Tamaki didn't even bother to undress. He just trudged over and slumped himself belly down onto the bed. The man had gone completely limp. You had to drag him further up the mattress so that he didn't slide off onto the floor. Even once that was done, you were a little concerned with the way his face just jammed into the comforter. Can he even breathe? You leaned in closer and scratched at the back of his neck, easing his head to the side so that his cheek laid flat against the blanket. Better. Now you can at least hear the gentle whistle of his nose and be certain that he hadn't smothered himself. Did they really work you that hard? You smiled, before pressing a loving kiss to the mess of hair behind his ear. His chest rose and fell steadily.
Eat again.
The words were so breathy and incoherent that you had half a mind to dismiss them as sleep talk. It wasn't until he repeated them, still garbled but slightly louder, that you even acknowledged him trying to speak.
Never eating ever again.
You couldn't help but laugh a bit, overwhelmed by a sudden surge of affection for him. Maybe it was a result of your own sleep deprivation, but there was something so funny about the image of him shoveling down meal after meal in an attempt to fuel his quirk. He opened one eye, lips twitching into a crooked frown, and you felt just a little guilty. You rubbed an array of patterns against his back, dragging the fabric along as you worked your fingers over his ridges. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I know you're tired. You sat up and turned off the lamplight. Just sleep now and we'll talk more when I get back in the afternoon. He let out a tiny grunt in agreement, twisting onto his back and shimmying beneath the covers. You yawned, then lowered yourself beside him. Your fidgeting earned a couple of frustrated whines from him, but eventually you settled into a comfortable spot on the bed. He didn't complain when you stretched out an arm to rest it on his stomach, though. In fact, his contented sigh led you to believe that the contact was appreciated. You hummed, twisting your legs inwards so they tangled with his. You would, no doubt, wake up and regret the decision when the two of you were drenched in sweat. Even so, you just needed to be close to him right now, to remind yourself that he was here. You slept through your alarm, though, when morning broke not too long after. But you really didn't mind. You had a lot of paid time off anyway.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Mayday said I had to talk to you. I don't understand why. I was happy sitting at the back. Okay. This is too much. I don't. Okay. I just came because she said I had to say thank you. Hi. Thank you for joining us today, and I don't really want to be here. Okay. Oh, I please don't say that. I don't know what to do. I just want to go, really. Okay. I'll try not to. Okay. I think, okay. Oh, good. Mayday's letting me go. Okay. Well, again, thank you, all of you. But I'm gonna, I might see you, all of you, later. But, thank you all. I'm gonna go.
Well, I'm really glad that Tamaki could actually stand out here for a bit. Thank you for sending all the love to him. He really needs it. Okay. We have the final one, last but not least, and will be Shinso. Okay, so before I forget, his first story, I believe, if I pull everything up here, is called Cold Fingers. So, I hope you guys enjoy. We're almost to the end of this little live stream. Oh yes, you'll be able to watch this stream when it's over. I publish I publish the first 2 test ones, so I will publish this one out. Don't worry. But it will take, I think YouTube takes within a day for it to pop up onto thing. So you all should be able to see this by tomorrow. Okay, cool. Alright. Purple Boy's gonna come on very soon. Yes, Cat Boy. Went by so fast. I think we've officially started 50 minutes ago. Yeah, I think it did. Alright. So I'm going to apologize. It is Shinso stories which I haven't had a chance to actually edit through entirely, so you all are going to be hearing like the very first dry read of it. So I apologize if there are any hiccups throughout it all, but we'll see how we go.
An icy cold hand enveloped your own warmer ones, making you flinch upon contact. Hitoshi chuckled at the small squeak that escaped from your mouth, clearly amused.
Oh my god, Toshi!
You exclaimed. Your hands are so freaking cold and it's not even winter yet. Ugh. Hitoshi's entire body grew warm at the obvious concern plastered all over your face. You were cute like that. Snickering, he rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly.
Yeah, I'm just cold like that. Don't worry.
He ruffled your hair, trying to lighten up the mood, but your eyes still held that sliver of concern. Give me your hand, you gently murmured. Confused, he placed his hands onto your softer ones. You brought his hand to your mouth and blew softly on it. The warmth instantly made Hitoshi relax, a comforting feeling, not unlike a warm drink on a chilly day. It drowned him, and he suspected it wasn't just because of your physical warmth. Hitoshi had never truly bonded with a person before, all of them too cautious of him to properly befriend him. He walked a solemn and lonely road, but that changed when he met you. At first, he rejected your company, thinking that you were simply out to use him for his quirk, then disposing him once you were done. But you were insistent on greeting him every morning, eating lunch with him, and even casually talking to him between classes. It felt nice to be wanted. He felt so utterly grateful to have met you. His kitten. Breaking out of his train of thought, Hitoshi freed his hand out of yours and cupped your cheek, gazing at you with nothing short of utter love and devotion.
You don't need to warm my hand, kitten. You've already warmed my heart.
This second story is called Nightmares. Doesn't sound as horrible as it is, I hope. His eyes opened sluggishly, staring blankly at the wall as his thoughts tried to process why he was awake in the first place. Feeling movement on the mattress behind him, the realization that you were squirming finally hit him as he sat up and looked at your form. You tossed and turned, whimpering in your sleep as your skin started to break out in a sweat. Should he wake you? Would that make matters worse? Is this normal? He's only had a few sleepovers with you after all. As you turned onto your back and laid there for a moment, he watched a few tears slip down your cheek. That's when he decided it was necessary to wake you. Gently touching your shoulder, he shook you ever so slightly and whispered your name a few times until your eyes fluttered open to meet his own, illuminated by the moonlight that broke through the curtains.
Are you okay?
He asked, already knowing that you weren't. He helped you sit up and take a few breaths, rubbing your back as you rubbed the tears from your eyes before looking back at him.
Yeah, I'm fine.
His glare cut you off. The both of you knew you couldn't lie in this situation. Okay, so I'm not. It's just... You sighed, looking down at your fingers as you preoccupied yourself with playing with them. I can't do anything lately, you know. I can't remember any of the answers for the test. I keep messing up in training. What if I never get in? Am I going to even make it as a hero? You whispered by the end of your sentence, tears threatening to spill over again. I'm just so scared that everything's gonna crumble around me and I can't pull myself out of it. I can't even sleep without nightmares that everyone turns against me at some point and I'm left all alone.
What if they all hate me? What if they leave? What if you leave?
If I were going to go anywhere, I think I would have done it by now.
He cut you off, trying to be reassuring. His eyes scanned the window behind your bed. In reality, you knew he wasn't looking at anything. It was just a movement he made when he scanned his brain for the right words to say. It was a pretty cute habit, actually, watching him stare into space with his mouth slightly open. It honestly made you smile a bit as you wiped the tears that fell because of it. When he finally found the words, he met your eyes once again.
I think you'll be fine. No one is perfect at everything after all. Besides, you're doing the best that you can, and, well, anyone who asks for more than that is kind of an asshole.
But you're kind of an asshole, you joked.
I'm the good kind of asshole. The kind you keep around when you need a laugh, or the kind you take shopping to tell you if you look bad in that outfit,
he retorted, cracking a small smile.
Look, my point is there's no need to worry about it. I know you will, since that's part of being human and all, but you're doing great.
He pulled your head against his chest, flopping back down to the mattress and refusing to let go.
Now, don't get another nightmare.
Wow. Okay. He gave him a half chuckle before settling against him. I'll do my best to not do that then.
Hey, really though,
he whispered.
I'm here. It'll be okay.
He felt you sigh and nuzzle against his chest. One hand rested on the small of your back while the other slowly stroked your hair. He stared at the ceiling, waiting until he heard your breathing level out, indicating you were asleep. Even then, he laid there, awake, thinking of ways he could ease your worries in the morning and to make sure someone was there for you if you woke up from another nightmare.
Checking in on everyone. How are you all doing? Cool. Okay. I'm doing good. Thanks for so I think all the practice in the morning for my voice is paying off a little. So it's not too bad. Well, sadly we have come to the final story for this live stream. Again, I hope the story's okay. I have not read it or edited through it. Well, I haven't read through it in its entirety. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry. For those who've just joined in, this is the last story. But this live stream will be published on my channel. So if you have maybe a good hour 15 minutes to spare, you'll be able to rewatch everything again. And don't worry, what I'll do, I'll put timestamps in the description so people can follow the stories and not have to bother with all the ones in between. Alright, well, heading in for the last one. This one's called Stargazing. Hope you all enjoy.
The sound of chainsaws chasing you through the woods was deafening. Blood was oozing from the cut on your shoulder where the monster had gotten too close and was leaving a trail for it. You couldn't get away. You knew that. It felt like you could feel its hot, sickening breath on your neck. Suddenly your eyes shot open and you sat up in bed shaking. Your shirt clung to your sweat-covered skin, so you rose and threw on your slippers. Stepping softly, you left your room and rode the elevator down to the common area. Maybe your secret stash of cookies would make you feel a bit better. Grabbing the cookie package from the top shelf hiding spot, you were dismayed to find that it was empty. Your only bet was that Kaminari and or Mineta ate them. You sighed and threw the package away. Maybe some fresh air would help relax you. You do needed some much well-deserved rest. You cautiously stuck your head out of the door to make sure no one was around. You felt this was a stupid idea. And if Aizawa found out that you were roaming around after hours, he'd probably kill you. But at least then, you may get some sleep. Keeping to the shadows, you started walking away from your dorms. Listening to the crickets outside, you walked past the hero course dorms and towards the general studies area.
Shouldn't you be in bed?
A tired voice said from your left, nearly scaring you to death. Fearing it was a teacher that busted you, you turned toward the voice, only to find another student. Well, I could say the same to you, you replied, feeling your heart rate return to normal. The purple-haired boy looked familiar, but you couldn't figure out where you knew him from.
I don't sleep much,
he said, turning his attention away from you and back to the sky. You approached him and sat next to him on the bench, wondering what he was doing. He glanced at you from the corner of his eye, but stayed silent. You thought he wasn't going to respond or answer or question your presence, until he quietly muttered,
I like to look at the stars.
You nodded your head and looked up at the sky yourself. Since he obviously wasn't going to start any conversation, you leaned over and asked, Do you know any constellations?
Only the basics. Those 3 stars there, for instance.
He pointed, and for a moment you didn't know where to look. But when you scooted closer to him, you saw which ones he meant.
Those make up Orion's belt.
Huh. Do you ever make up your own? You know, I used to do that when I was little.
Sometimes. I've never given them names, though.
You leaned back and sat in silence for a while, listening to the sounds of the night, and for the first time since camp felt relaxed, until one sound stood out above the others. Before you registered what that sound was, the boy grabbed your hand and pulled you into a crouch behind a nearby bush. One of the camera robots patrolling the street had narrowly avoided being spotted. The robot moved on, but he held you still for a few more minutes just to be sure.
Thanks. That was really close,
you whispered.
Not really. They pass by at the same time every night, so I knew it was coming.
He straightened and moved back to his seat, but this time he didn't look up at the sky. He was looking at you.
So, you really don't sleep, do you?
He smiled, and it was the first smile you had gotten from him. It was a nice smile that made his eyes light up and you wanted to see more of it. Well, I'd better be heading back. Maybe I'll see you out here another night?
Maybe.
You started walking back towards the dorms, but realized you had never given him your name, and so introduced yourself before running back and seeing if you can slip inside without getting any sort of trouble. That night, after you got back to your room, you felt giddy with excitement about possibly seeing him again. There was a part of you actually hoping you wouldn't be able to sleep the next night, just so you could go meet him at the bench. It was a stupid risk to take. Just because you got away with it once didn't mean you could do it again. He did say he knew when the robots patrolled though, so that did give you some form of comfort. The next night you tried to sleep, you really did, but you kept wondering if he was there and if he was hoping you would show up. Tossing and turning wasn't doing nothing to soothe the restlessness you felt and only served to tangle up the blankets. Finally, you climbed out of bed and decided that you would sneak out just for a few minutes to see if he was there. On your way out of the dorm, an idea struck that you could make the two of you some hot chocolate to drink while you sat, so you hurried back to the kitchen to make. Holding the two steaming mugs, you walked slowly down the street, trying not to spill anything on your way. Just as you had hoped, you saw him sitting in the same spot you had left him the night before, and smiled to yourself. He watched as you approached, but said nothing. "Hey!" You held out one of the mugs and he took it suspiciously.
What's this?
Shinso held the mug in his hand but did not try to drink it. It's hot chocolate. I thought it would be nice since it is still cool during the night. Suddenly, you felt a bit silly and embarrassed. You added, "Well, but you don't have to drink it if you don't want to."
Thank you.
He set the mug beside him, and you took a seat of the opposite him. "So, how were your classes?" You noticed how he didn't try to initiate conversation, so you were determined to do it yourself ever since last night.
Fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. What about yours? Aren't you in the hero course?
Well, I am. I mean, they're good. Aizawa tried to kill us in training, but that's nothing new.
Tell me about it.
Shinso inclined his head like he knew exactly what you meant. You looked at him, confused. There's no reason Aizawa would be training anyone in general studies, at least that you knew of.
No, it's nothing.
He looked away as if trying to hide something, which didn't sit well with you. But you had to let it go for now. The two of you moved on to other small talk, and when you weren't talking, you both looked at the stars. Some of the nights passed this way for some time. You would sneak out to meet him on the bench outside his dorm, occasionally bringing snacks or drinks, and just sat there and talked. The silences weren't so awkward anymore, and you'd learned to just accept them as part of who he is. You didn't try to force conversation as much. On a particularly chilly night, He even gave you his jacket to wear, after seeing you rub your arms to rid them of the goosebumps that had appeared. And you found yourself fidgeting in your place on the bench, which had slowly moved closer to his as the nights passed. Your stomach was in knots, and you knew if you didn't ask the question on the tip of your tongue, you were going to be sick. The problem was you didn't know how to bring it up.
Are you okay?
Shinso asked, looking at you concerned. He had never seen you so nervous before. Oh, yeah. You nodded and took a deep breath to steady yourself. I was wondering, well, if you would want to... The robot was back, and just like the first night you had met, he grabbed your hand and pulled you into a crouch behind the bush to hide. This time, though, he was closer than before, and his hand had moved to your back after he pulled you down. A surge of courage raced through you, and when he turned to look at you, you pressed your lips to his. He wasn't expecting it, and it threw him off balance. He landed on the grass, confused, shocked, and yet he looked up at you in surprise. Then annoyance, as you let out a bark of laughter. Grabbing your neck, he pulled your face down to his and kissed you again, silencing you. Unfortunately, a light shined on the two of you from behind, and a metallic voice spoke.
Students, out past curfew, contacting homeroom teachers.
You turned with panicked eyes towards Shinso, but all he could do was shrug his shoulders.
Well, what do you want me to do?
You climbed off of him, but not before smacking his chest.
Well, hi everyone. I can see some people are staying up a bit late. I'm no stranger to that. Hey there. Well, I'm here to say thanks for sticking around, at least for my segment. I'm pretty alright. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate all of the compliments and everything, but, well, I'm getting there. Oh. Say hi to your cat for me. Thanks for all the... Well, thank you, everyone. But, I'm probably gonna have to go. I've been up for a while now. I have to at least get some nap. Yeah. And all of you, you should too. You don't want to end up like me, do you? Alright. Well, all these comments I'm gonna try and note them down for the back of my mind, but yeah, well. Well, at least I know there's a lot of people who like cats in this chat room. Alright. I'm gonna head off, but thank you for joining us today. I may not be in the next stream, but if you ever see me or hear from me again, I say hi. Alright. Have a good night.
Okay, so I believe this concludes my, our, let's say, our story time live stream. Wow, it's an hour and a half into this. Okay, well, now that's a good time of reference for my next live stream, which of course I will notify everyone of when that happens. Don't worry, there'll be more. There'll be more. I'm sure of it. And of course, anyone who's just blah 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 blah. If that was a blooper, that is one there. If anyone has come in halfway, quarter way, 3/4 of the way, whichever, this will be published on my channel anyhow. And you all can have a listen to how I dry read stuff. And I'm going to be honest here, guys. Sometimes I try to edit it while I'm reading it. Don't know why or how. It's I don't have the best improv skills, but I try my best. Again, if you guys hear any traffic from my mic, I am so sorry. Yeah, you probably heard that. Alright. Well, I'm not going to hold off people for long. Some people have, I think I read someone said it was 6:30, and if that was 6:30 in the morning, props to you for actually waking up early to listen to this. I actually am really, really sorry. But yeah, the next stream, I will notify you guys through the community posts on YouTube when that'll happen. I might even have to do another voting cast to see who I do next. The thing is, I feel like this is a general rule, and I'm going to tell you guys now while you guys are still here, which I will highlight in the community post. But because I have read Bakugo, Tamaki, Amajiki, and Shinso, I may not be able to do them in the next live stream. It's only fair. It's probably best to share it around and that everyone gets a go. But before all of you go, actually,
there's a little something that needs to be shown at the end of this live stream. Now, I'm not sure where it came from, but I think it's important that you guys see this. Don't worry, it's not that bad. But for now, I'm going to have to say goodnight to you all. Good night, good day, good morning, wherever you are in the world. See you all.